When people know their identity and who they are, what makes them tick, how to focus, how to be disciplined, how to push out of their comfort zone. When you have your identity straight and you know yourself, that allows you to lead others, that allows you to expect and demand more of yourself, and that allows you to start taking control of your life for the better.
Do you want to know the secret to success? Welcome to rulesforsuccess.com, a platform that unites the accomplished and the ambitious. We're here to arm you with the invaluable knowledge of individuals who have paved their own path to success. And now let's get into the show with dynamic host Joseph Varghese.
All right. Hi, friends. Joseph Varghese here. Welcome to Rules for Success, our podcast where we interview entrepreneurs, leaders, people who embrace sports and life, the game of life, toward winning and helping other people win too as well. Today, I've got the opportunity of interviewing Marques Ogden. Marques and I connected a few years ago. We were on another podcast at different times, and I was on his podcast, and I got to listen to him and his background. I love what Marques has done in the world, his journey from being in football to entrepreneurship to speaking, public speaking. He works with major organizations. He's in the game of peak performance, which is a passion of mine as well. And he really helps people out there thrive. And he focuses on authentic accountability. Marques has his own podcast. He has his own show. He travels around the country, around the world. He's a best-selling author. I'm just excited to have him today. This podcast, this episode, you can capture it all on rulesforsuccess.com. We'll have a mind map summary of this podcast, other questions we're asking him and he's answering. So you'll see all of that there, as well as a few other AI summaries on the page to rulesforsuccess.com. Access that for the full summary information and also for Marques's contact as well. So Marques, yes, indeed. How are you?
I'm doing well. Joseph, how about yourself, my friend?
I'm good, man, my friend. I'm in New York. I know it's a little cold out there and you're traveling, you're getting out there on the court. Showing up for different organizations with the work you do. Love to hear about your legacy. I'm an athlete. I consider all my clients, the people I engage with, as being athletes. It's one of the greatest frames of life. When we are athletes, we can do some unique things. But you are the athlete, right? You started in that space, and then you've gone out to do some unique things, ups and downs. I'm also passionate about rags to riches stories. I was telling my daughter, who's 10, at a young age, I started reading bios of people who've gone through the hurdles, the challenges of life, maybe embraced faith and stepped up and gone on to do some unique things. Very passionate about those stories. And you have one of those stories in your journey. So tell our audience about your journey. How did you get into football and beyond? Talk to us.
Yeah, Joseph. So I was born in Washington, D.C. My parents, Cheryl Ogden, was my father, who passed away in 2006. And my mom, Cassandra Ogden, had me and my older brother, Jonathan Ogden. Jonathan is about 7 years older than me. Again, grew up in the Washington, D.C. area. Started playing football my freshman year in high school. My brother had been playing football since 7th grade. And so by the time he got to college, I really wanted to follow in his footsteps. I went to all of his high school football games and I was always around the football field and learning the game. My dad played football at Howard University in Washington, D.C. He's from Georgia, born and raised, and moved to Buffalo. And then from Buffalo went to Washington, D.C. when he went to Howard University to play for the Bison. So I ended up loving the game of football in high school, did okay at it, and then I got one scholarship offer, just one, Joseph, to play at the Howard University football Bison football team, where my dad went to play his college football. I got to Howard in 1998. I said, if I start for a year, that'd be awesome. I didn't get recruited much. So I'm like, if I become a starter my redshirt junior year, maybe my last year, that'll be a big win. Go on to my regular day life and just be an investment banker, right? I want to be an investment banker. Well, I became a 4-year starter at Howard University. I started as a redshirt freshman at right tackle. And I had a phenomenal career. And I was drafted into the National Football League, Joseph, by the Jacksonville Jaguars, who had a phenomenal season in 2025. They got to the playoffs, lost to the Bills in the first round, but had a phenomenal turnaround from 4-13 2024 to 13-4 in 2025. And I had a great career, Joseph. Played with some great people. My brother, Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs. I played with guys like Fred Taylor, Jimmy Smith. I could go down the list. Great guys. Was with the Jaguars, Ravens, Bills, and I finished off with the Tennessee Titans. And it was amazing. But then when I left the game, right, Joseph, I struggled immensely with addiction, gambling, nightlife, felt like a failure, didn't know what to do next. And then finally, I got off my butt and I started my construction company in 2008 called Caden Premier Enterprises. And I finally started to make the move from being a retired athlete struggling to a retired athlete who thought he found his next phase of life.
Did you have any mentors along that way? Because I know that's a struggle, that journey, being an athlete, and there are people out there in our network who educate athletes on not making those decisions because having a lot of money, putting it away, saving it. A lot of athletes don't do that. A lot of emotional decisions. Even lottery winners, within 2 years, most lottery winners go back to nothing, and even worse at times because they weren't able to handle it. Did you have mentors on that journey?
Yeah, so my biggest mentor, Joseph, was my brother. My brother was in the NFL, like I said, about 7 years before me. So he was drafted to the National Football League in 1996. And how lucky and fortunate for me, and I'm being a little bit selfish here, but that's okay, because my older brother, he got drafted by the Baltimore Ravens. So I lived in Washington, D.C. It was only about an hour drive from Baltimore. So I got to see him constantly. Football practice, on the field. I mean, I was honestly, today, it would probably never happen the way I was able to quote unquote take advantage of him being the number one pick of the Baltimore Ravens ever in 1996.
Incredible.
On the field, practices, games on the field, in the locker room, seeing stuff. And it just taught me so much. I saw guys who unfortunately did it wrong, Joseph. Then I saw guys like my brother who did it right with finances and money and putting things away and being smart and not buying the biggest, newest car, not having to have the biggest, most plush house, not having to travel everywhere and spend money everywhere and do all the things that other players were doing. So I got very fortunate, Joseph, to not only have my brother as my mentor, but I spent so much time with him, real time with him, at his home, apartment, to his house in Vegas, to his lifestyle. And I got to see what it was like to do it right.
Incredible. So you had a household where accountability, education were recommended. Your brother who mentored you for years, he was 7 years ahead of you on that journey. So you got to see his trajectory. You got to see what happens when people make poor decisions around him. That's quite extraordinary. Didn't you have a rock bottom moment at some point around that? You mentioned you got into addictions and so forth. How did you climb back up? And did you have mentors around you at that point? Was your brother a mentor to you at that point?
So Joseph, I hit rock bottom after I left the NFL and I struggled with what to do next for about 6 months. Then I got into construction with my business partner who became my business mentor. And we grew to become the largest African-American owned subcontractor in the city of Baltimore and the state of Maryland, D.C., Virginia, and other surrounding states as well in the area of site work. We were a multiple 8-figure-a-year business at our height. And what happened then, right, Joseph, is I ended up becoming this very egotistical, very self-centered, only focused on himself and what he wanted and what he thought was important individual. I lost my ability to be humble. I lost my ability to show gratitude. And I started treating my people less than human. And what happened is I ended up hitting a snag on a project in 2012 in that summer. And by the winter of that year, I ended up having about $3 million of my money spent on a project, and it did not get repaid by the developer and or the contractor, Joseph.
Hmm.
And then my bank on December 23rd, 2012, shut me down. They said, Marques, we don't see anything coming in financial wise. You've exhausted every resource, every line of credit, your equipment line, your credit card line, your revolving line. We see nothing coming in. We've met and we made the decision. We're not going to extend Caden any more credit. We're going to shut you down and we're going to come after everything you own starting in January of 2013. And when that happened, Joseph, that next year, I had to leave Baltimore and move to Raleigh, North Carolina with only $400 left to my name. And I hit complete rock bottom after being fired from 2 jobs in the same week, after becoming a custodian, making $8.25 an hour. And I ended up hitting my rock bottom moment on that day in September 2013 when somebody's trash, rotten meat, nasty, protruding, horrible smelling garbage, Joseph, got all over me.
Wow.
And I sat down on a curb and I cried for about 10 minutes. And I realized at that moment, Joseph, that accountability and responsibility were missing from my life. And I said to myself, if I'm going to get back off this curb, God spoke to me. God said, Marques, nobody's coming to save you. If you want to save yourself, I'll give you the perseverance, the grit, and the attributes to do so. But if you're looking for me to give you a hand and lift you up off this curb, put you into a limo, make your life easy or better like it used to be, never going to happen. So at that moment, Joseph, after that complete rock bottom moment, I made the decision to be more accountable and be more responsible in my life. And that's when I started my speaking journey after that rock bottom moment in September 2013.
Inspiring. People underestimate what they can do over the course of a decade, right? And they assume they can do a lot in a year. But in a decade since then, 2013, and that's the point I met my wife, I got married. So I know what happens in the decade. Quite incredible. So you've been on the speaking tour since then, inspiring organizations. I believe your first speaking project was at a school, as I recall. Remember that podcast that you and I were on at different points. How was the journey for you, inspiring others to take action, to really show up? And of course, I before I get on stage, before I see some of the greats get on stage, I ask God to flow through them, right? To use them as they get on stage. Like, how has faith been a big part of your life? You touched on that a little bit just now, and speaking to God and getting at rock bottom moments. Those moments I find are invaluable because they bring us humble and in a state of His greatness and allowing the grace to flow through us. How has that journey been, climbing back up, right? And then getting out there and publishing a best-selling book and rebuilding all of that and going beyond now, probably even creating more impact than you had before for the previous 10 years of your life?
You know, Joseph, the journey has been one of ups and downs, highs and lows, peaks and valleys. When I started speaking in September 2013, I didn't get a paid job for 2.5 years. 2.5 years, 30 months, no paid jobs. And what I tell people is that was the defining moment for me. When I got the first paid job in April 2016, it was nice. I didn't do great, but it showed me I could do okay, potentially in this business. My second paid job, Joseph, for the Buffalo Bills NFL football team, that was the speaking job that changed everything for me, because I met my longtime friend and great buddy, Marlon Kerner, who at the time was the director of player engagement for the Buffalo Bills. And that means that individual, right, Joseph, is responsible for bringing in outside speakers, to help educate, enlighten, and inspire the rookie class that they draft, and sometimes even the veteran guys on the team, depending upon what kind of curriculum the NFL wants each team to deliver for their people. And it was amazing. And Marlon believed in me, right, Joseph, when I didn't believe in myself. So with his belief and support, right, I ended up not just doing a job for him. I got my next paid job in 2018. And then from there, it just started to flourish. In 2018, he brought me back to talk to the next NFL draft class, which included guys like Josh Allen, who is an NFL reigning MVP in the NFL. I was a speaker, one of the first speakers for Josh's rookie class. So for 3 years, 2017, 18, and 19, I spoke for the Bills as a speaker. And that, Joseph, gave me confidence. It gave me the belief that I could do it. And ever since then, there's still ups and downs, highs and lows, but I've had a lot more consistency, and we've really worked hard over the years, right, Joseph, to give our clients top flight service to allow them to be able to thrive through any storm.
Do you feel athletes are making better decisions now than they were years ago? Like back in the early days, 20 years ago, 30 years ago? Do they have more mentors, access? Are they advised early when they come into the game to like just be more grounded, to maybe prioritize faith and like all those things that are invaluable as things progress? I remember even like LeBron and Oprah show where Oprah sat him down. This is basketball, of course. They sat him down and like told him, this is your potential. This is what's going to happen to you. And you're going to have women flocking to you. And you have a choice in those moments to either allow your emotions to take you down one path where you can lose it all, or build on something and leave a legacy that'll go to the next level. And he plays with the son, right? Ronnie, and different game. But I mean, I look at in the world of athletes, there's certain aspects of like emotional highs that come up because you have access to a people, and then you had the opportunity of rebuilding yourself, going bankrupt, rebuilding yourself up in those moments. You had a great mentor. Now you're educating these other athletes and organizations and Fortune 500 companies and beyond. How are people more emotionally intelligent these days? And what do you recommend toward people, individuals, leaders, organizations or athletes? How do they access that ability to make better decisions, prioritize better? Like I have my answer to that based on the things we do with accountability with our world.
Yeah, that's a great question. So Joseph, I would say yes, people are much more emotionally intelligent than they were 20 years ago. But I'll also say there's a lot more accessibility to outside social pressure than there was 20 years ago with social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all these things. Sometimes it puts a lot of pressure on athletes to feel they have to always show that their life is full of glitz, glamour, and being gold, and nothing is wrong. They're Mr. and Mrs. Perfect. And that's really a hard place to live and to be, because we both know, Joseph, nobody's life is perfect. No one's.
Yes.
So I would say they're definitely more emotionally intelligent. But I would also say there's a lot of outside external pressure. There's a lot of social media that can also drive people to have, more anxiety, more stress, more worry, because they're trying to keep up with the Joneses. Yeah. So I would say, yes, people today are smarter. I would say if you want to actually build something self-sustaining and thriving, you need to have three things. You need to have inspiration. You have to have, the ability to be disciplined, and you have to have that ability to focus, right? Inspiration is where it starts. Discipline is what sees it through to the finish line and beyond. And focus allows you, once you cross the finish line, to set a new finish line. And I tell people in life, if you make a goal and achieve a goal and you stop, you risk becoming like Marques of 2012, 2013, who built something special, who made a bunch of money, who did all this stuff, but because he didn't set new goals or new heights or new frames or new visions, he wasn't aspirational to cast a vision. He wasn't inspirational to make that come to life. What happened? I got complacent. And complacency is the biggest killer of most people in business and in life. And it cost me everything. So I tell people, never, ever let your success make you feel that you can't do more and or be more.
Incredible. Marques, I know there's a 4 V's framework you have: visualize, vocalize, vote, and vicinity, right? How do you teach or engage people in this framework, right? Especially when they might come up against barriers and or even a glass ceiling that they see that's there that's in the way of them really stepping up to their potential.
You know what, Joseph? There are 3 things that people have to really make sure is top flight in their life: environment, input, associations. And I'm going to talk more about associations when it comes to that amazing question you just asked me. Who you hang around is who you become. One of my good friends, Mr. Chris Paradiso and Mr. Mick Hunt and Mr. David Keller, I'll say some of my good friends, Mr. Chris Paradiso, Mr. Mick Hunt, Mr. David Keller, Ryan Hanley, Dave Carothers, Keith Savino, Robert Klinger, Rob Bowen. I could go down the list of these people. These are people that I associate with from the extended version, which means I want to be around them constantly, not just on a professional level, but a personal level too. Hang out with them, their family, their wives, their kids, vacation together. Why? Because they're great people, and they're people that I don't even have to ask for their opinion. They give it freely because they know that's the relationship that we have. Who you hang around is who you become. Amen. If you associate with people that you have to constantly ask, well, how am I doing? Well, what do you think? Is this good enough? Am I getting by? There's a great quote that I live by. The enemy of great is not bad, it's good. I'm doing good enough. I'm doing okay. Doing good enough is never enough. So I tell people who we hang around, who we associate with, is going to determine a lot of our outcome and how we push ourselves out of the comfort zone. So again, if you want to up your status, if you want to hit new goals, if you want to elevate in your life, you have to take a hard look at who you're hanging around and who you're sharing your dreams, goals, aspirations with. Are they people that are going to cheer you on, not just in your face? Are they people that are going to cheer you on that are in the dark? Are they people who are going to cheer you on when you're not in the room? Like I talked about how amazing Chris is, Mick, Ryan. I will tell these guys the same thing to their face on a podcast or just in my mind or just in a casual conversation. Because all those guys I support, and they all have my utmost admiration and support.
I love how you can be so direct and real and authentic. I know that's part of the title of your podcast that should lead to also. And there's something about that. There's something about holding people to a high standard. We rise to the quality of expectations of our peer group, right? That's something I've learned over the years. And it's one thing we run my business on, the idea that we're around peers, and as we engage with these peers, and over time, as they continue seeing us on this journey toward reaching our dreams, playing the game, they're willing to see us rise, make the day better, make each other better, our values. So you're around incredible people. I'm sure you're upgrading your peer group to each year, right? And you have high standards for them too. I'm curious too, you're also married, correct?
I'm divorced.
Got it. Okay. And I remember at some point that was discussed in the past.
Yeah, I was married. Yep. But again, this is something I feel is a great, I think I know where you're going, but about the relationships. But anyway, no, I'm divorced. I was married for 7 years. I was with my ex for 10, for a decade.
Got it. And a partnership comes in all levels here in our relationships, who are around, our kids, our families, our peer group. My best friend of 22 years is still in my life to this day. And sometimes it's painful holding people to a high standard, very, very high standard, especially if they're not willing to get out of their own way. How do you hold yourself to a high standard? So you've got these people around you, you're on stage, right? So being on stage, putting yourself out there also causes you to kind of align with what you're saying, what you're speaking about. How do you maintain that each year? How do you ensure you're rising? And how do you encourage people to keep rising each day with all the noise, distractions, AI, all the things that are around them? You mentioned it before.
This is a great question. I tell people, right, Joseph, I'm only as good or as great, better way of saying it, as my last speaking job, as my last podcast interview, as my last interaction. Having the mindset that I'm only as great as my last this or last that or last that keeps me humble, grateful, and hungry to keep doing more and being the best version of myself. People could say, oh, well, Marques, you spoke great for this company and that company. Yeah, doesn't matter. If my last job wasn't as great as I know it could have been, I'm going to be upset with myself because I demand more of myself. We call that, Joseph, raising your floor. Okay? Raise your floor or what you expect and or demand of yourself. Basically, stop making excuses, right? I tell people all the time, just take dating. If you're dating somebody and you can tell that things that they do aren't what you want to do, don't hang around. Don't waste your time. Don't drag your feet. You deserve more. Hold yourself to a higher standard, right? Yes. If you're going to spend time with somebody, you should spend time with someone that you like, you connect with, that you relate to, that you feel you all are aligned in some way, shape, or form. Yes. I can't tell you, Joseph, how many people I know that date and just date because they don't want to be alone. Like, well, that's not good enough. That's that's not good enough. Yes. Again, you should want to be great, right? You should want to have a great partner with your spouse or your significant other. You should want to have a great relationship with a business partner. Yes. I'm in talks right now with somebody about becoming my potential business partner. I've known him for about 3.5 to 4 years. He's been a long-time client of mine since the time that I've met him at a mastermind. He's been my client. He's very successful. He's a great operations guy. He's a Christian man of faith, accountability guy. He knows how to take a company and scale, how to use your assets. I'm one person, right, Joseph? Yes. I can't scale something to where I want to scale it to by myself. Right. I can't. I love what I do. I love to speak. I love to coach. I love to be on podcasts. And I know how to do operation stuff? Yeah. But do I need to be spending my time there? No. But I always knew if I just kept my nose to the ground and worked hard, the right potential partner could come along. Yes. Again, though, I had to do the work. No partner is going to want to come into a company and be part of it if the company is not thriving or doing well, or at least showing signs, right, Joseph, of some sort of viable business. Yes. And now we have that. So my point is, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes down to it, you need to raise your floor. You need to raise your standards. And better yet, understand your identity. Know who you are. Who are you? Who can you become? And who do you deserve to be? And when people know their identity and who they are, what makes them tick, how to focus, how to be disciplined, how to push out of their comfort zone. When you have your identity straight and you know yourself, that allows you to lead others. That allows you to expect and demand more of yourself. And that allows you to start taking control of your life for the better. So that's how you have to approach it.
What's your identity? So what's your why? What drives you each day to show up, to wake up, and to do the things each day? Curious about that.
My why, Joseph, is to help our clients learn from me so they don't end up like me. The 2012 version of Marques. Arrogant, ego-driven, can't talk to him. He doesn't listen. He doesn't do anything that he feels is not his idea. I don't want people to make the type of catastrophic mistakes that I made. Because a lot of people, right, Joseph, when I got to Raleigh, right, Joseph, I had $4 to my name.
Yeah.
That's it. Home foreclosed on. Both cars repossessed. No credit cards. Nothing. None of that, right? But on top of that, Joseph, I was $5.5 million in debt.
Yeah.
I had 177 creditors on my docket. I had no money. I was massively in debt. And I was so broke, right, Joseph? I couldn't even pay my bankruptcy $3,300 fee to keep people from potentially coming after me and suing me personally. I couldn't even put up my corporate shield to keep people away from me because I was so broke. So my point is, it's really about our ability to help others. So why I do what I do is so people can learn from me and they can learn how to learn not to become your own worst enemy. And they can also learn, right, Joseph? Never let your ego get bigger than the good part of your soul.
Yeah.
Because if you do, you're screwed.
It's so valuable to have people like yourself keep people in check, keep yourself in check, have people around you. You mentioned their mentors, leaders, people around you, people you look up to, you reach out to, travel with them to their families. It's really very, very, very vital. What other practices you maintain each day? Any rituals? Or I'm sure I mean, one of the first things I do when I remember is to get on my knees and I pray first thing. And sometimes I forget and start my day without doing that. I make my bed. You know, we've interviewed a lot of people who kind of follow like a certain protocol their day that starts their day, ends their day in a certain way. What are some things that you do each day to keep you engaged in the game?
I always thank God for waking up and or just being where I am because I've gone through so much. And not that long ago, July 2022, just I filed for divorce. November 1st, 2022, I'm living in a crappy apartment, broken down, dilapidated, dirty, run down, and I will go back to that apartment every 3 or so months to remind myself of how far I've come. I will also, Joseph, go back to the trash dump, the trash can that I had my spoiled milk rock bottom moment at. That's in downtown Raleigh about every 3 months. I remember I go to the one in Raleigh, just remember how bad it was from that point. I go to the one where I was in the apartment to remember how it was bad, not as bad as the first one, but I've still come a long way. And so what I do is that's part of my ritual every 3 or so months. But on a daily basis, I'm grateful. I show gratitude. I make my bed always. I vacuum the top part of my house floor always. And then from there, it's to the gym. And after the gym, it could be starting my day with coaching calls, or it could be whatever it could be. But that's, again, I wake up, show gratitude, make my bed and vacuum upstairs, top part of my house with my floors, and then I'm off to the gym. And I do core, lifting, running. 6 days a week, lifting, core, running. The extra day is just some type of like cardio or for cardio work. So it's cardio, core, and it's cardio, core, lifting 6 days a week, and additional some type of cardio and core on day 7.
How about ending your day? This is great, by the way. And I appreciate how authentic and real you are as far as all of it. You just lay it out there, right? And it's really meaningful for me to hear that, what you're doing each day and how you're showing up. And also having the humility to go back to those sites too. There was a point in my life where I had to wait tables and had to be presence to what money was, the value of money. So I was waiting tables at a country club, and I still have my my badge, the gold badge that I wore back then, and I still have it. So I sometimes I look at it. I'm present to. There was a journey, and there are ups and downs, there are ebbs and flows, and we have to step up. So it's extraordinary how you do all those things. How you get into your day, you make the place clean, you get to the gym, right? You're being an athlete, you're showing up each day. How do you end your day? I'm curious.
I end my day by saying a prayer, showing gratitude for the day, and that I really just appreciate where I am and what I've been able to do with my life after all the hardship that I've been through in my life. And yeah, and I also try to, if I have my daughter, well, I have two daughters, 22 and 11. If my 11-year-old's with me, I always tell her good night and then I go to bed. If they're not with me, then I have a group text with both my daughters. I just tell them good night, love you, and talk to you guys tomorrow. So that's something I do every day.
Incredible, my friend. I mean, the whole journey has been fantastic. And, we didn't dig into some of the things with your parents, your dad, Cheryl, and all of that, right? You've had a lot of mentors. You've been on this journey for a long time. And so I know you've got a podcast, your book, your website is Marques Ogden, Marques Ogden.com. How do people tap into you? How do they hire you for speaking on stages? If an organization wants to bring you on board, how can they do that?
They can email me at marcus@marcusogden.com. That's the best way to get in touch with me. You can also check us out on our app. The Marques Ogden app is in your iPhone store, or your Google store, or you can check out our podcast, Get Authentic with Marques Ogden. We're on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. We're growing our YouTube channel, and we're very excited about where we're heading in the future.
Well, this is refreshing. Like, this is an age where people kind of show up and be a different character at times with AI and exuding crazy confidence, which is important, right? Like getting in the game, getting on stage, speaking. But it's refreshing to me when I'm talking to somebody who's just real. Like, this is what it is. This is the journey. This is how it was 4 years ago. This is how it was 12 years ago. And you're present to every step of the way. It's like a timeline, right? And there's a timeline, and there's an up, a down, and a spiral. And then these are the people you're around. You're able to name each of those people around you, each of those steps. That's and for me, that's awe-inspiring. I do that too as well. Like, who am I around each year? Who am I connecting with? Any final words of wisdom for our audience? Our audience tends to be people who are entrepreneurs, high level, playing the game each day, showing up, making sales calls, getting out, creating partnerships, just doing the things, what it takes to be a 6-7 figure entrepreneur. Any other advice you have for them on the game?
Great quote. Ready, ladies and gentlemen? Smooth seas never made skilled sailors. Franklin Delano Roosevelt. You're going to be tested all the time in life. But when you have smooth, easy times in life, that's not when you learn about yourself. When the seas are rough, choppy, difficult, full of adversity, hardships, that's where you learn about yourself. That's where you learn how to be skilled. That's why you learn how to lean into your attributes. That's where you learn how to lean into your grit, your determination, your discipline. And so in life, when times get hard, you have to learn how to slow things down and then move accordingly. If you're in a tough situation, being anxious, being stressed, being high energy, like and all jittery, that doesn't do anything. Like today, I'm leaving for a speaking job on Sunday, but in Raleigh, North Carolina area, we're expecting a lot of snow on Saturday night. If you get 1 inch of snow in our town, the entire town shuts down. Yeah. So I had to again, it was not smooth seas this morning, but what did I do? I left the gym, went to my accountant's office, dropped off some paperwork. From there, I went to my Pet Palace because I have my dog. It's going to be boarded for a few days. I'm out of town. I'm out of town Saturday to Wednesday. So he's going to be boarded. And I went to the boarding place and said, hey, I'm scheduled to come drop him off on Saturday. Can I please move it up to Friday? They said, absolutely, Mr. Ogg. We'll see Duke on Friday. Check. I was talking to my travel agent. I was able to get a flight to go from Sunday leaving instead. Now we're leaving on Saturday morning at 6 a.m. to beat the snow. I talked to the client. They're going to get me an extra night room stay at the hotel. They were so excited that they saw that I saw about the possible snow, right? Joseph, instead of sitting around saying, oh, I'm just going to wait and pray the snow doesn't hit. Yeah. If it doesn't hit, what does it cost me? $100 to be able to get out there a day early and show the client that I'm disciplined and I want to be there for them. that goes, wow, this guy, Mark's like, wow, he had a flight. He moved it up. He has to get an early room. So like now in the client's mind, right, Joseph, we're heroes, right? Because we didn't sit around and wait and say, oh, if the snow hits, oh, I can't get out. Oh, well, I'm sorry. You've paid me money and I'm not going to be there to speak, boo-hoo and blah, blah, blah. No, like I want to show discipline. I want to show focus. And so it was not an easy morning this morning. It was an easy morning yesterday when I got up to work on a project and something needed to be done. Rapid fire took me about 45 minutes of my time. It got me way behind schedule in the morning. My workout sucked, but I still did it. But here's the end thing, right, Joseph? We sent the client the PowerPoint and they said, oh my God, Marcus, we love it. It's amazing. So that's all that matters, right? It was not amazing early on, but by like 7:30, like 7 o'clock, right? It got to him at like 8 o'clock. By 7 o'clock in the morning, it was amazing. 8 o'clock, it's approved, right?
Incredible.
My point is, Joseph, smooth seas never made skilled sailors.
Incredible. I love how you brought that all together. You're taking radical responsibility. This is not about being a victim. Like really showing up, playing the game, doing the things, doing the research, right? And then showing up, right? And we talk about this idea of getting in the court, or you're actively finding ways to get in the court, like get in the playing field each day,
Get in the game.
Get the game. That's what it's all about. It's not difficult. It takes a little work. It can be difficult if you see it as such, and that's okay. But it's just doing the work each day.
It's life.
Making it happen. It's life.
It's life.
I love it, brother. Well, I appreciate this conversation today. For our audience watching this, we'll summarize all of this, the quotes and all the great things that Marques has provided us. Tap into his genius on his website, marquesogden.com. We'll have it on the site. This whole interview is on rulesforsuccess.com. Tap into the summary, the mind map, and much more. This has been an extraordinary experience today. Thanks so much, Marques.
Thanks a lot.
Be great.
That's it for today's episode of rulesforsuccess.com podcast. Join us next week for another inspiring conversation with a successful entrepreneur. Until then, remember to be bold, be courageous, and go after your dreams.